Hello, gorgeous people. How you're doing? I hope you are all super well. It is that time in between Christmas and New Year, the dead time where nothing is really happening. You're lying on the couch because you've eaten too much food and you're contemplating whether you should eat another chocolate orange, which I did. I ate two. Welcome to the Reflections episode. I'm Sarah Williams. I'm the host of the Tough Girl podcast and the founder of Tough Girl Challenges, which is all about motivating and inspiring you while increasing the amount of role models in the media, especially in relation to adventure and physical challenges, specifically focused on women. That is what we are all about. So if you are brand new to Tough Girl podcast, this probably isn't the best episode for you to listen to because I'm just going to be making assumptions that there is a lot of sort of assumed knowledge about who I am, what I do. And that's who the people who are going to be listening, who've sort of been following my journey over the past sort of 9 or 10 years. But I will set the scene. I'll give you a brief intro about who I am, what I do, and then we are going to dig into it. So this Reflections episode is about the previous 6 months. And I think I say this on every Reflections episode. Where does time go? It just absolutely flies by. So let me set the scene. So I am in my bedroom. I'm at home on the Wirral, very close to the beach. My bedroom is so lovely and calm. It wasn't about 4 days ago over Christmas. I had my nephew and my niece staying with me, aged 9 and 7. So one on a bed like down the left-hand side, another on a bed on the right-hand side. And as you can imagine, toys and clothes and clutter and stuff everywhere. I'm not good with clutter and mess. I find it very, very stressful. So obviously it's lovely having them here, but I do find it very relaxing to have my space back. And on the right-hand side, I've got this giant map of the world, which is one of those wallpaper maps, which I find incredibly motivating and inspiring, being able to look, just literally glance to my right and just see the whole map of the world. And I look at it and think, oh my God, there's so many just incredible places that I want to go and visit. I've got my Himalayan salt lamps next to me. I've got my snake plant, which is doing phenomenally well. I'm going to have to repot it into 3 separate plants, which I'm very, very pleased about. And then I've got an additional plant, which is called a peace lily, which is on my left-hand side. So I'm getting into my plants, the simple plants that you don't need a green finger for. You don't really need to water them. They just sort of survive without having a person looking after them, because I don't really do that. But they're doing super well. So my bed, my office, my bedroom, I live with my parents at home, have done for the past sort of 9 years. Oh God, no, it's probably 10 years. When did I move home? Like 2014. But yeah, it's really, really lovely, really relaxing, really calming. This is where I do all of my recordings for the Tough Girl podcast. This is where I do all my interviews, and to be honest, all of my meetings as well. It's just, it's who I am. I'm surrounded by a couple of books, which I'm going to be talking about. There's also one guidebook from Cicerone. I'll be sharing what my future plans for 2025 and talking a little bit more about that. I've also got lots of paper around me, which I will be using to make sure that we keep structured, we keep on focus, and I don't just go off on tangents, which I could be liable to do. But who am I? What do I do? So way back when I was in my early 30s, I used to work in banking, used to work down in London, which I did for many, many years. Got to 32, burnt out, stress, blah, blah, blah. Quit my job, went traveling for 2 years, spent time over in Australia, went and climbed Kilimanjaro with my sister in Africa, spent a lot of time over in South America. I think I was there for like 3 or 4 months of traveling around, going to Machu Picchu and Bolivian salt flats, and heading down to the volcano Vilcari and cycling down Death Road in Bolivia and doing all these sort of cool things. But it was when I was over in South America, I really got to think, what do I want to do with my life? And I started to journal and write a lot. And I wrote about what I wanted my life to look like, which was filled with adventures, challenge, wanting to motivate and inspire women and girls. I wanted to build a website. I wanted to, share stories, and I wanted it to be basically so I could be a digital nomad, to travel and live anywhere in the world. As long as I had a laptop and my phone, I would be good. And that's what I started doing. I started blogging initially. No one read my blog. And then I started podcasting in 2015, and podcasting has changed my life. So I started with 4 episodes on the 4th of August 2015, and now we're listened to in 210 countries around the world. We've passed 3.5 million downloads, which is absolutely fantastic. We're still in the top 1% of podcasts globally, which is amazing. I've got some other numbers as well. We are number 55 on the Good Pod's top 100 motivational podcasts. We are 29 in the top 100 adventure all-time chart. We're number 46 in the top 100 advice all-time chart and number 71 in the top 100 inspirational all-time chart. There's over 750 episodes in the back catalogue, which is a huge amount of content. And to us, but I know there's listeners out there, you could be one of them, who's listened to every one of these women who have shared their stories, their motivations, their challenge, their passions, their advice, their tips of, how they got into adventure and challenges and travel and what they've learned, advice and tips for you. And I hope, you've been applying it to your life over the past couple of years. So I started Tough Luck Podcast, interview these incredible women. The episodes come out every Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time with bonus episodes coming out on a Thursday. But if I am talking the talk, I also need to be able to walk the walk as such. And I have thoroughly embraced that in terms of challenges. I'm very fortunate to have gone on quite a few different challenges over the years. I have done big running challenges from Marathon des Sables, but the majority, a big cycling challenge, cycling from Vancouver in Canada all the way down to Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, which is about 4,000 kilometers. Climbed Kili. I've climbed all the Ben Nevis, Snowdon, etc. in the UK, done quite a few UK hikes, but generally hiking is where it is at. Through hiking, long through hikes is probably, I'd say, what I've really focused in on over the past sort of 4 or 5 years. I just think it's such a wonderful way to spend your time. It's also very, very cheap. It's also, for me, actually, do you know, I'm going off on a tangent and we are not going to do that. We are going to keep focused. But actually, what I'm going to do is that I got asked a really good question and I thought, this is actually a really good question to sort of bring in at the beginning of the episode. So this is from Adele Vickers. On reflection, which challenges have you enjoyed most and what aspect of that challenge made it enjoyable? Connection, an aha moment into your own strengths or weaknesses, learning experience, etc. Will you pursue more similar challenges in the future? So I think this is thank you, Adele, love the question. So I think this is a really great question because I can use this to sort of share the evolution of my hiking adventures and how they've sort of evolved. So initially for me, it was running. I'd run London Marathon 5 times over the years and I'd heard about Marathon des Sables, such, an incredible challenge, running 6 marathons, 6 days across the Sahara Desert. And I did that challenge in 2016 and I've done specific episodes on that and you can go back and listen to them where I dig into more of the detail. But what I enjoyed most about that challenge was actually being out doing the challenge. But what I really struggled with was the 18 months sort of beforehand with the training and preparation, which led up to the Marathon des Sables. And then for me, it's all over. Everything I've worked for is just over. It's just gone so quickly. So that led me on to my next challenge, which ended up being the Appalachian Trail because I wanted the longer duration challenge. So, 100 days out there, 2,200 miles. And for me, that ticked a lot of boxes because I felt like I was achieving every single day because I'm out there doing something, I'm traveling, I'm exploring, I'm under my own speed. I get a massive sense of satisfaction out there, spending time in nature, these views, spending time in the mountains, they make it really, really enjoyable. And for me, especially, I think at that time in my life with the Appalachian Trail, it was an eye-opening moment. I suppose the Marathon des Sables was like drawing a line in the sand between being a banker and moving into the world of adventure and physical challenges. The Appalachian Trail, that proved something to me in terms of previously it's am I tough enough? Am I strong enough? All of those negative self-beliefs. And spending 100 days out on the trail feeling like a failure and then completing it was a game changer for me in terms of me knowing my mental strength, my mental resilience, what I could do, especially if I show up every day, even when I don't feel like it. And I apply that principle to my life. Even today, I was really not in the mood to go to the gym. I'd normally go at 8, half 8 in the morning. It was getting to 10:30, 11. I was like, oh my God, go to the gym, just go to the gym. And it's just you just have to take the first step, just put your trainers on and get out the door, which is what I did. I showed up, I did my trainer, I did my mobility work, which was fantastic. So I showed up and I do apply that to all aspects of my life. Same with the podcast. You don't walk 2,200 miles in one go. Some people do. But what I mean by that is it takes time to build and it also takes time to achieve. And the same with like the Tough Girl podcast and Tough Girl challenges, creating 750 interviews just doesn't happen, straight away. This is, when I look at my website, this is years and years and years and years and years of consistency and showing up and putting in the work. So yeah, on reflection, which challenge have you enjoyed the most? I mean, to be fair, I've enjoyed all my challenges, caveat being North Island of New Zealand. It was not fun for me. And I've talked about that in more detail. And although the question is, what made it enjoyable? What made that one not enjoyable was it wasn't in the wilderness. It wasn't on trail. It was on roads, like 80% of the time. That for me was just not enjoyable. The positive of going through that is it really does make you appreciate the other trails. And I think you will understand when I share more about the trail that I'm going to do in 2025, why I picked it. On reflection, which challenge have you enjoyed the most? So I love the more of the wilderness challenges. I love the ones where I'm in really remoter sections. So especially for me, this year, the South Island of New Zealand, some of those sections were just incredible. The Nelson Lakes, Waiu Pass, Richmond Ranges, just phenomenal. I think for me, I really enjoy the solo time, like that deep thinking time, just me being me. I just absolutely love it. Will you pursue more similar challenges in the future? Yes, I will. So I think over the past, I've probably mentioned this in a previous episode, I think in the past like 18 months, I have hit adventuring too hard, whereas I have been non-stop for almost 18 months. So it's do an adventure, come home for 3 weeks, on the next adventure, home for 10 days, on the next adventure, home for 3 weeks, on the next adventure, But in between when I'm home for those 10 days or those 2 weeks or those 3 weeks, it's all day, every day editing, catching up with podcasts, editing vlogs, it's doing social media. It's very, very, very full on. But when I was doing it, like I love it because I feel like I'm achieving every day. I'm progressing. I'm having these amazing experiences. But like always, I need to get sort of more balance in my life. So that's something I've been working on, and I'll come to talk about a little bit more in the future. Have I gone completely off topic? Probably. But anyway, let's focus. So we've done the introduction. I've welcomed my listeners. I've highlighted this as a solo episode where we're going to be sharing personal updates and reflect on the past couple of months. So I would encourage you to listen to my previous episodes, actually. It's probably just me. I find it quite fascinating when I go back and listen to me 4 or 5 years ago and where I was and what I was doing. I mean, obviously I've got a personal interest in it, but it's pretty cool to have documented this journey so far. But a couple of the topics that we're going to be talking about now is going to be the Southwest Coast Path, which has been the big challenge that I've done in the past 6 months. I'm going to talk about some of my what I've been up to since I've been back home in the UK in September. I'm going to be talking like health, fitness. I'm also going to be talking money, like financial goals, like lifestyle adjustments. And then I'm going to be talking about a new job that I have, which is very exciting. And then I will also be sharing more about my future goals. And then I've got another couple of questions that I'll be answering around failure. So let's jump into it. So earlier this year, I headed down to the Armchair Adventure Festival, which was absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend it. I've been there for the past 2 years, released a couple of live episodes, went with awesome women. And it was it was just super cool being just around like-minded people. And actually, I've still got to reach out to a couple of women who I met over there who are doing like amazing adventures and challenges in 2025, like rowing around Great Britain. But I just haven't had time. They are on my to-do list, these just amazing women that I have met. But I finished the Armchair Adventure Festival, and Ellen, who came with me to be on the Tough Girl podcast, absolute legend, she drove me to Minehead, which is the start of the Southwest Coast Path. So yeah, the Southwest Coast Path. So I first initially heard about Southwest Coast Path through Zoe Langley-Watham, who shared her episode on it when she became when she did it in her 40s to celebrate turning 40. I'd have to double check on that. But she's always talked very sort of highly of it. And the Southwest Coast Path, it is one of the UK's national trails. If you're looking at a map of England, for example, straight on, it is basically in the southwest. It's sort of the Cornwall end of England, like below Wales, that bit of England which sticks out. The Southwest Coast Path. Did I do any preparation for this walk. Not really. Like I probably just don't need to now. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but like I've got all the gear. I know my systems. I know what I need to do. And the logistics in the UK is very different from logistics in, say, New Zealand or America. And obviously there is a level of familiarity with walking in the UK. To be honest, I was just really excited to get back out there. But I think I was also feeling maybe a little apprehensive because I'd been diagnosed with, I was quite severely anemic in the months beforehand. And I'd been on iron tablets to boost my iron levels up, which they had done, and it had increased my energy levels. But I wasn't going into the hike like fully fit, but I also wasn't under any time pressure. It was just more like, do you know what? Rock up, walk it, have some fun, take it on. It's going to be epic. And I was actually really excited about it. And I have to say, I've got my notes here. So one of the things that I do on all my trails is I do document it daily. And I put in, so each post, it's like what day it is, where I started from, where I ended up, did I camp, how much money did I spend, what type of food did I eat, what start time, what was the end time, like how many kilometers, basically to track it. And these stats, I think they're just becoming more and more interesting. So I just want to talk you through some of these stats. These are all available in blog posts as well. So the journey, Southwest Coast Path, the UK National Trail, is 630 miles. It's 1,015 kilometres. It was supported by ZOLEO, #challenge with ZOLEO. So ZOLEO is like my satellite communication device. It has like location share. There's medic first aid. It's, got a big old SOS button. If I do get into trouble, I need to press it. But I'm also, when I'm in parts, especially in the UK, maybe the more remote sections where there isn't mobile phone service, I can still get weather updates. I can get emails. I can send text messages. My parents know where I am, which is for me one of the biggest things, just so they've got that comfort zone of knowing exactly where I am. They can track my journey. So ZOLEO is sponsoring the challenge. And I ended up doing 40 days, which was 10.9%, 11% of 2024 I spent on the Southwest Coast Path. I had 4 days rest, which was forced as I needed to go home because I had a few issues, a few dramatic things happening, or very painful things. But I started on the 28th of July from Minehead in Somerset. I ended on the 9th of September in Poole Harbour in Dorset. I walked through Somerset, Devon, Cornwall and Dorset. The highest point was the Great Hangman near Coe Martin, 318 metres. 71% of the path is either a national park or an area of outstanding natural beauty. There's 2 World Heritage Sites, a UNESCO Geopark and a UNESCO Biosphere. Some of the highlights: the Exmoor National Park, long stretches of heritage coast, the fishing, smuggling and tin mining heritage, the land ends, lizard points, Plymouth's naval history, Jurassic Coast, Lulworth Cove. It's the equivalent of climbing 4 times the height of Mount Everest. I walked over 230 bridges, opened and closed 880 gates, climbed over 436 stiles, past more than 4,000 Coast Path signs. So this information is from the Southwest Coast Path website. I also used the Cicerone guidebook, which was gifted to me, which was awesome. I was wearing my Innovate's Trailfly Women's, which are very good for hard, rocky ground. And if you use Tough Girl 10, you can get 10% discount if you buy from Innovate. They're £130 trainers. They fitted my feet, which we had a shocker, didn't we, on the Camino earlier in the year when I had the wrong size, not the wrong size trainers, but basically my feet had grown. Oh, I should talk about that as well. Yeah, so 75% of my time was spent camping, 25% was done in a bed. I had 2 nights with trail accommodations. I spent £400 on accommodation. The average accommodation cost was about £10. I was walking on average around 24 kilometres each day, which is about 15 miles, about 30,000 plus steps. I spent on this walk 40 days £1,614, which was way more expensive than I expected. But when the weather is bad in the UK, like it's just, especially down south, it was just so bad. It's like that non-stop rain where you just can't even face camping in it. And especially towards the end when I wasn't feeling my best, I was taking the easier option and just be like, just give me a B&B, just find me accommodation. So you have a couple of nights accommodation, £80, £90. It really does add up the total cost. Plus I needed to head home So one of the things that happened to me when I was on the Southwest Coast Path, and you'll be able to watch these vlogs, the vlogs coming out in 2025, is I'm annoyed with myself. I'd been to the dentist before I left for the Southwest Coast Path to have a filling done. And I remember the dentist saying, oh, how does that feel? And I was like, it didn't feel right. But I couldn't pinpoint where it didn't feel right. And basically, I don't think the filling was done properly. So when I was on this walk, I just kept having more and more tooth pain. But because I'm silly, I thought I can just push on through and I'll just manage it with like Bonjela and painkillers and, have a gin and tonic in the evening and antihistamine to help you sleep, etc. Not things that I would recommend to do. But I was sort of like pushing on through, and I had like gel on, putting gel on my tooth to like numb the pain, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. But I was, I'm a tough old cookie. So I kept on like walking through. And it got to, I don't know, day 34 or day 35 or something on the trail. And I went to bed that night and I just wasn't feeling my best. And I could just feel like my face was like so swollen, but I couldn't see anything. And I basically woke up in the morning and the whole of my left side of my face had blown up like a massive balloon from the tooth infection. And what's worse was that it seemed to have like traveled up to like my left eye. So like below my left eye was like bulging. And so I looked insane, and I was literally like, okay, I don't think I can suffer through this for another 9 days until I finish the trail. I'm going to have to go home. So walked into town, got a bus to the local train station, a train ticket home. How much is that? £181, which is, to be honest, which is insane. When I travelled to Seville, £13 flight, so £181, absolutely ridiculous. But this is why you have emergency funds saved, because I was literally just like, right, let's pay it, let's get home. Got home, got to see an emergency dentist. And to be fair, you don't know what you don't know, because all the dentist does, or, they looked at it and it's like, well, here's antibiotics for you. So I was like, oh, okay. And then it was so weird. It's like, I had photos, but it was almost like after a couple of days, it had calmed down by the time I got to see the dentist, and I was on the antibiotics. But I bought a return train ticket, so I was basically right. Let's just get back to the trail, because if I don't do it now, I can't fit it in any other time. So headed back to the trail. Yeah, so had my antibiotics. Was going to have root canal surgery done. I think I blocked that out. But so came back, got back on the trail, which was great. So that did increase like the amount of cost on it. Then what was awesome is ZOLEO Wathen came out and joined me, which was so much fun. I think that's what I really needed. I needed like a friend to walk with, like just like sort of an emotional boost, just someone who's really kind and considerate and thoughtful, and you can walk and talk, and you can talk as much as you want, but you can also not talk if you don't need to talk. And Zoe knows the area really well, and she's just such a wonderful person. So we had a brilliant time. Like it really, I was starting to struggle towards the end. And so having Zoe there just did give me that sort of mental boost. Like, come on, we can do this. So, yeah, that was super fun. And we finished on the 9th of September, which was cool. And we had Adventure Queen Mother came out and met us, Sue, which was lovely. So we had like nice hot chocolate, and it was the day for my birthday. So Zoe treated me to a gorgeous glass of champagne at the very sort of finish. It all just worked out super, super well. And then hopped on a coach, came home, and then I was home for my actual birthday on the 10th of September, which was really, really great. Because I keep stats, so every day, like I give the day marks out of 10 for my level of enjoyment, my level of fatigue, and how I found the terrain. Obviously very subjective, but 71%, super enjoyable walk, highly recommend. My fatigue was 44%, so my iron levels were back to normal before I started the walk, but they are at the extremely low end of normal. So I was on about iron tablets for about 2 weeks, so I did still feel pretty tired. Total ease of terrain 48%, some steep sections, lots of up and down and rolling hills. Probably found it harder due to my overall tiredness, because I have been on the go quite a lot this year. Challenges on the trail, I went over on my ankles really badly, like three times. Horrendous. Like I thought that I had literally snapped a tendon or snapped a ligament or something. I've never felt pain like it. Obviously also got it filmed as well, which will be hysterical. So on this walk, I was like, my right ankle had crapped out. I had my tooth issues, my face swelling. I got like this bacterial infection, need to get on antibiotics. But the least enjoyable section of the walk, probably for me, were the more crowded towns where it was just too many people, too much mess, too much crazy. And for me, it was just really nice when I just got back out into sort of the wilderness. Met James out there as well. So he's also a ZOLEO ambassador and an Innovate ambassador as well. James Michael Forrest, I walked with him for a couple of days. He was awesome. There was Gigi. I walked with her for like one day, which was super, super fun. But these are some thoughts that I had on the Southwest Coast Path, which I recorded, like talked into my note app. So I'm just going to read it out to you. So honestly, I've been so impressed with the Southwest Coast Path. I really think it has it all. It is a challenging hike. You will feel as though you're working hard. However, there are so many services available to you. You don't need to carry a lot of food with you, as you'll be passing through so many small towns and villages where you can buy resupply either from the supermarket, or you can visit cafes or pubs to have meals. You can do this trail on a budget and wild camp as much as you want, but there are lots of different options. If you're more sort of mid-range, you can stay at hostels. I mean, there isn't a huge amount of hostels available. There are some, and if you are organised, you can book them in advance. Or if you're wanting to make it more of like a holiday and you do have the budget available, you can stay in B&Bs and nice hotels all the way along. So it really does cater for every budget. The scenery, absolutely spectacular. Some of the best I've seen in the world. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting this. Maybe it helped that my expectations were pretty low. All I really knew about the trail was its distance, which was 630 miles, its starting point in Minehead and its finishing point in Poole, and that it was the UK's longest national trail at the moment until the King Charles III Coastal Trail is completed. So what I'm trying to get across here is you don't need to fly all over the world to find beautiful wilderness and incredible walking and hiking. It is literally on your doorstep. I would really, really, really recommend the Southwest Coast Path. It can definitely compete with some of the other big trails that I've done, from the Appalachian Trail to New Zealand. The other key thing I'd say with this trail is the distance. The New Zealand trail, 4.5, 5 months, same with Appalachian Trail. That is a huge amount of time to be away from life, and there's a lot of opportunity cost there as well. If you're having to continue paying rent, if you're not earning income while you're away for those 4 or 5 months, on the Southwest Coast Path, you can do it in 45, 50 days, which is a much more manageable time frame. And plus, it will give you a real indication on whether or not you like through hiking or not. Because I think so many people, maybe, I could be partly to blame for this. They watch my videos, and I honestly do try and give a real transparent view of what it's like, and share the highlights and the lowlights, and try and get across that it is not all sunshine and roses, that there can be really tough days, and there's rain and blisters and, roads and motorways and, all the things that can go wrong. But I think what I found is a lot of people have this dream in their head of what they think it is going to be like, especially on a through hike, that every day is going to be wonderful and awesome and amazing. And do you know what? Some days, 70% it is. But you still do have tough times and tough days. So before you sort of maybe make the commitment to take on one of the bigger trails, figure out if you even like doing this sort of stuff, because after 30, 40 days on a hike, you will know whether or not you want to continue doing it for another 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is. But honestly, highly, highly, highly recommend the Southwest Coast Path. It was an incredible walk, incredible to see so much of the UK. There was just so much beauty here. And even those who are listening from farther afield, I'd highly encourage for you to come to the UK and do the Southwest Coast Path, or, Offa's Dyke, or the Wales Coast Path, or the Anglesey. There's so many phenomenal walks, and they are well signposted, well trodden. I mean, there still might be a few fields filled with cows, but you can't have everything. So I finished Southwest Coast Path. If you go on the blog, I'll put links in the show notes as well. You can read more about the stats. I will be editing those vlogs as well, and those vlogs will be coming out sometime next year. And also, I don't know if you've read The Salt Path as well by Reynard Wynn. Her film, the author of that book, there's a film coming out next year as well, which will be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. So that'll be super, super fun. So I got home in September, and to be honest, one of the main things that I was thinking about while I was walking was health. it was just a thing, especially with my ankle problems and then my tooth kicking off and then being anemic. It just sort of felt like things were building up. Plus, I'd also read about, there's some new scientific research which has been done, but basically aging doesn't just sort of happen gradually over time. There's two almost like aging spurts, and that happens at 44 and age 60. And so I'm 43 now. So next year I'm going to be turning 44. And I have been thinking about, getting older, aging. This is not in a negative way. It's in a reality way. Amazing episode with Caroline Paul as well. He talks about aging and adventuring. Really great book that she's written as well. And you may have heard me talk about, 16 adventures in the next 16 years. And then I turn 60, which is crazy. I mean, in 6 years, I'll be 50. 50. Ridiculous. Like, I don't even know. But anyway, I've definitely been thinking more about like my health, my wellness, and I suppose longevity. And not just in my health side of things, but also it's all fun and games doing the adventures and challenges sort of in your 30s. But especially when you don't have any like additional responsibilities. But now I'm in my 40s, I am starting to think more about like retirement. Like, will I ever be able to retire? What happens when I get older? Like, in my 80s and will I be able to look after myself? Do I have money available to look after myself? I've got like a SIP, which is a private pension. Haven't put any money into it for quite a while. So it's like, I actually need to start getting serious about not just saving for adventure, which is what I've been doing with Passionately. It's save up, build up the emergency fund, save up for adventures and challenges. So yes, I do get I'm very fortunate. I do work with sponsors, but that doesn't cover like all of the costs of the adventures. And especially when you're over in places like New Zealand, which are hugely expensive, it really, really does sort of add up. So I've been saving for my ventures, but I haven't been saving for like my retirement and my future. So I really need to get serious about that side of things. Actually, to be honest, making more money. Like, I've got to make more money. But it's balancing the making of the more money without, I suppose, losing the freedom. And also, I don't want to be getting stressed by it, because I'm going to be stressed and I might as well be paid the big bucks down in London. And so that's not what I want. But I do need to sort of just manage, like, how am I going to make more money? We've talked about patrons before. Like, I think I'm down to like around like 170 patrons at the moment, which is amazing, because I also realize, it's cost of living crisis. Things are really difficult, but having patrons stick around means, everything. It does give me a monthly income that can come in, and it funds the running costs of the podcast and the Dropbox, which is like £24 a month. What else? Wix, the website hosting, the email thing, the search function, which is £5 a month. When you put music in vlogs, I need to pay £120 a year to have access to the music. So there's lots of things like that which just sort of really add it. So I came back in September. And for me, it was like, okay, I really need to sort out my health and fitness. What am I going to do? So I'm going to break this next sort of section down. I'm going to talk about the health and fitness side of things, what that looks like. And then I'm also going to talk about the money side, like the financial goals. For me, when I come back home, like, I do get back into the gym. And you know what? It is tough. And I enjoy training and I love strength training. But I haven't done strength training for maybe like 18 months just because of all the traveling. And it was just so tough starting again, trying to lift weights again. It's like my body had forgotten what it was doing. You do, 45-minute session, you come home and you just be absolutely exhausted. I know that I have to, like on the Appalachian, you have to show up. You have to commit, because getting back your strength, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So back in the gym, 3 times a week doing the classes. Also back with my trainer, Franco, who I've been working with like since 2019. I'd even messaged him in September or earlier, probably in August, just basically saying, Franco. So I normally do strength and conditioning with him and mobility work, which is like mobility and strength. I'm literally like, I need to bulletproof my ankles. Like, I can't, this is getting like steadily worse now for me. It's almost like once you've gone over on your ankle once, you end up doing it more and more and more. And I don't want that. I went to see a physio as well, who was amazing. And it was really interesting because my feet had grown in size, which I talked about back on the Camino, where I'd gone from like an 8.5 to a size 9. And that's almost due to like my arch collapsing. So because my arch collapsed, my feet got bigger and went down to like a size 9. And I had a massive blister under the skin on the sole of my foot. And so I ended up walking. Say as I'm walking on like my left foot, I'm walking on the edge of my left foot and not using my toe anymore. So I changed how I was actually walking, which then changed like my gait and like my ankle, and it's all basically connected. So I started doing like physio work with him, ankle mobility and strength with Franco, which is amazing, strength training. Dr. Stacey Sims, she's been on the Tough Girl podcast, but women, especially over the age of 30, you have to lift heavy weights. And that is what I've been doing. I've also been getting back on my protein. I'm an ambassador for Protein Rebel. So having their Run Easy collagen twice a day, back on the protein powder. To be honest, just really trying to nail in my nutrition, which is what I've been doing. So that's been amazing. But the other thing that I've been doing as well, with not only sort of doing like the strength and the conditioning work, is I talked about AIM previously. So it's called AIM Health in Hoylake. And I went there for a couple of visits when they first opened in March, April, and, did some cryotherapy and red light therapy and rebalance bed. What's amazing is I went back to AIM and I'm actually working there now, which is super cool. So I started out working as sort of a receptionist. I'm now sort of helping out with their social media. I'm sort of like an ambassador as well. But I just wanted to share a little bit more about AIM Health. So I'm just going to read this from their leaflet. That it's personalized, innovative healthcare, cutting edge medical science meets total well-being. At AIM Health, our goal is to work with you to optimize your health and well-being, get to the root of your illness, not just treat symptoms. Specific areas we can help you with: improve performance and quicken injury recovery, pain management, increase energy levels, reduce stress, management of chronic illnesses, improve sleep, menopause and hormone imbalance, detoxification, enhance skin health and rejuvenation. So it's highly qualified doctors and functional health practitioners can advise you on what treatments could be the most beneficial for your individual health needs. And they have got, so the doctors are all absolutely lovely. I went and saw Dr. Kathy, but I know them all. They're all like so super lovely. And they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've got 5 therapies. So cryotherapy, which is a state-of-the-art cryo chamber, which boosts your immune response and decreases inflammation and oxidative stress, reduces pain in muscles and joints, and stimulates the release of endorphins and the production of collagen. So the cryotherapy chamber is like this. You sort of strip down, you go in wearing your PPE, feet covered, face covered, wearing gloves, etc. -86. You probably know I do not like the cold. So you're probably thinking, Sarah, why are you like going in the cryotherapy chamber? Do you know what? It's absolutely fascinating. So when I first started going in, you take your temperature before you go in. So I take my temperature and I'm around like 31 degrees, 30 degrees. And when I was coming out on the lowest setting, my body temperature would drop down. I think the lowest I got was something like 5.7. 5.8, 5.9, something like that for initially when I first started doing it. But because I've been doing it on a regular basis now, when I go in, even at the highest fan, which increases the amount of wind chill, my body temperature will drop down to around like 12 degrees, which is amazing. So some of the things that I can see my body's adapting and getting better with the cold. I'm increasing the amount of like brown fat that I have. It's also more of like a psychological thing, like going into the cold, but it's a very different cold from, going into the sea or something like that, or having a cold shower. The other thing that works really well with cryotherapy is red light therapy. So they've got this red light bed, which safely delivers natural healing light that initiates deep biological changes, addressing pain and injury at the cellular level, clinically proven to reduce inflammation, speed muscle recovery and wound healing, and fade scars, acne and stretch marks. The bed that they've got there is just top of the range, state of the art, absolutely incredible. And you just feel amazing after using it. Honestly, the kit is just amazing. They've got something else called a Rebalance Impulse, which is enjoy a relaxing restorative experience on Rebalance Impulse, a non-invasive simulation and cognitive training machine based on neuroscience, mainly devoted to fighting chronic stress, improving sleep quality, and strengthening the immune system. And when you go on this bed, you wear a set of headphones and you're looking up at lights and you're working through different programs. So one is being like on sleep or stress management, and you're looking up into the lights and it's like it's guided meditation with very calming music, and you're doing breath work as well. It's really difficult to describe it, but you come off the bed and you just feel rebalanced. It works on like your parasympathetic nervous system. It's just the most relaxing bed that I've ever been on. Compression therapy, you're probably quite familiar with compression therapy. Those are the comfortable treatment providing precise and individualized therapeutic pressure scientifically designed to stimulate your body's natural circulation and lymphatic systems, promote faster recovery times after workouts, daily activities, or just standing on your feet. So those are like the trousers that you get into. You see like a lot of athletes wearing them after they've done long runs. I see a lot of fighters wearing them, like MMA fighters or boxers. They've also got a hyperbaric oxygen and hydrogen therapy, which is nourish your cells and speed up every healing process, sitting comfortably inside our rejuvenation air pod, effortlessly increasing your levels of oxygen by up to 50%, used to improve cognitive function, increase circulation, accelerate injury recovery, improve sleep quality, and support skincare and anti-aging. So I can take my laptop inside the AirPod and work there for 45, 50 minutes. When you do the AirPod, this builds up over time, so you don't feel something like straight away. But I remember, God, the other day, I think I'd done the AirPod, I'd done a cryo, red light, and AirPod, and rebalance bed. And I was walking home, and I think I even made a note of it. I was just like, I just feel so amazing. Like it was just, I don't know how else to sort of describe it, like just having access to these health and wellness and like literally the cutting edge science, the equipment that they've got. I'll put the website link so you can go and check it all out. It's absolutely amazing. But I get to use the equipment when I'm there. But for my mental health and fitness and recovery, like it literally ticks all the boxes. Like it's just the most amazing thing. So I'm working there like one full day and three half days. So I still have plenty of time to do like Tough Girl challenges. But the other benefit of working here for me as well is social interaction. Because when I'm normally home, I've talked about this before previously, where I can end up feeling a bit lonely. I just get, especially in winter when I hibernate and don't want to leave my lovely bedroom. And it's just like, no. I'm meeting, people there are just so lovely. People who are coming in are just lovely people, like the sweetest, kindest, really into their health and fitness and well-being, and just lovely people to engage with and talk with. So I've been really enjoying that. So I'm working at AIM, which is great because I also then have a bit more regular source of income, which is good. I then get to use all the services as well. I mean, I'm going to start probably properly tracking it in January to really see I do feel amazing. I mean, it is just incredible, like having access to this equipment, especially in like Hoylake and the Wirral. I even remember things like I wasn't sleeping particularly well. I did 4 sessions on the rebalance bed and now I sleep through the night. Yep, super happy with that. Super happy the direction that's going in. Ideally, how it's going to look next year is that I need to make money. So having this job helps allow me to have money coming in, but I still want to do my adventures and challenges. The podcast will still carry on going. And I think how that looks in like a structure is basically I'll end up being home. I'll end up being Wirral based in the UK from after my birthday. So mid-September through till probably the end of April. And then ideally how it works is May, June, July, August, for those 4 months away, traveling, adventuring, trying to fit in as many adventures and challenges as possible, or one big massive adventure and challenge. So 2025, am I keeping on track, folks? How am I doing? Yeah, I've talked about, we need to talk about the money. Yeah, so financial goals. So I do need to save for the future. I need to start contributing more to my personal pension. I need to balance out my adventuring with financial stability. I also need to make sure that I have like a work-life balance and socialize more. That's what I've been focusing on over the past sort of couple of months. I've also been massively editing. It took me 2.5 months to edit all of the New Zealand vlogs, 22 vlogs for the North Island, about 27 vlogs for the South Island. Do you know, I am really proud of the vlogs because I did it all myself, filmed it, edited it, added the music, did all the descriptions. I mean, ChatGPT helped with the descriptions and the title because it's really hard coming up with YouTube titles. But yeah, I'm really proud of it. And I look back over it and I'm actually really pleased with the New Zealand vlog content that I'm putting out. Not everyone is. There's always comments on YouTube. But when I look back at it, I think I've given such a fair reflection of what it is like to do a long through hike like that. I just don't know if people will watch the South Island vlogs because they might have suffered through the North Island vlogs as I did, where it's just like roads, more lorries, more roads. Oh, bit of mud. But the South Island vlogs are, I think, spectacular. I mean, just wait till you see some of the scenery coming up. I haven't started editing the Southwest Coast Path vlogs yet because I need to find out whether or not they're going to be sponsored. So next year I'll be reaching out to Innovate and ZOLEO at the beginning of January to see if they want to sponsor the podcast. Hopefully both will. And if they also want to sponsor, another couple of challenges with me, again, hopefully they will. Hopefully they'll also want to sponsor the next adventure and also the Southwest Coast Path vlog. So I'll need to put that out there. Oh, right. So we had a couple of questions as well. So there was a really lovely question, which was from Endurance Adventures, Steph. She said, "Hi, Sarah. I set off to do a big hike this year and failed. I'm planning on getting it done next year, but not as I originally intended. How do you overcome a feeling of failure if you have to cut adventures short?" Do you know what, Steph? This is a really great question. And I'm so glad you brought it up because, to be honest, no one likes feeling like a failure, do it? But do you know what? Honestly, I really want to dig into this because that feeling of failure is what stops so many people from even going out and attempting to try something new. Because what if I fail? So let's find out, did you really fail? In my mind, no, you didn't, because you had a dream, you put a plan in place, and you went after it. Okay, yes, things didn't work out, but hold on. What could you learn from that? What can be improved upon? Because it's all lessons, it's all learnings. To me, honestly, the biggest failure is not trying. I think that's the biggest failure. So there's an amazing word. It's used with for, I suppose, mental resilience, but it's reframing. It's a tool that you can use. How can you reframe this situation? So you set off to do a big hike this year and failed. I think you're being too hard on yourself. But what did go right? What went well? Was it little mistakes that built up? Was it a lack of knowledge? Was it a lack of training? Were things outside of your control? Was it the weather? Was it the equipment? Was it the gear? Really figure out what did I learn from this experience? But to be honest, I love the fact in your question, you said, I'm planning on getting it done next year, but not as I originally intended. That is 100% okay. Absolutely. Remember, your hike, your adventure, you do what you want to do. But how do you overcome a feeling of failure if you have to cut an adventure short? I mean, it's going to sound really cliche. Okay, who's actually going to judge you here? Your real friends are the people who are going to be saying, Steph, you did an amazing job. You got out there. You worked really hard. You trained. You did X, Y, and Z. Okay, yes, this happened, but what can we learn from it? Okay, you want to go back next year? How can we support you? The fact that you've already gone through this, you're stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, because you've already been through it. It also shows your determination that you're planning on going back next year to get it done. I also think, time is a great healer. And also the other thing I'd say is your feelings are valid. It can be really upsetting when you set out to do something, there's expectation, you put the expectation on yourself, but you also know other people have expectations. And you have to get to a point of acceptance where you've got to be like, okay, well, that didn't go to plan. Humor can be very, very helpful. I mean, I think for me, one of my biggest, I suppose, public failures was my boxing. And you can go back and listen to this episode because I can laugh about it now. But at the time, I was absolutely broken and devastated because I felt as though I'd let everybody down. And now when I talk about it, it's fact is I still got in a ring. I stepped up one-on-one fight. I mean, I joke about it now and I always say, well, my boxing career, I came second and I retired afterwards. But I was still really upset. It was still really emotional, to have trained so hard for something and then for it not to come out how you expected. And especially when you're feeling like you've let everyone down, you're feeling like a big failure, your feelings are so valid. And you know what? Let it out. Do you know what I'd do? I'd have a good cry, have a little sob, cry. The other thing I would do is write it down. It doesn't even have to make sense. Scribble on a piece of paper, where you say I'm really upset with myself, or this happened and that happened. Da, 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 da. Get it out of your system, get it out of your head, and then do exactly what you've said here. I'm planning on getting it done next year. Okay. So you're putting another plan together. In that plan, what are you going to be doing differently from last year? Like, what can you learn from it? Do you need to change anything? Do you need to adapt anything? Where are some of those weaknesses that you can turn into strengths? The fact that you're going after it, I actually think is the biggest hurdle, because so many people, they stop themselves before they even start. And that's the one thing, especially with the podcast, that I'm trying to really grapple with, is how do you get people to take the first step, because they're afraid of that failure. And so, Steph, I'm really proud of you. And I know all your friends would be really, really proud of you. But, honestly, give me a shout if you want to talk anything through, or if I can help in any other way. But to summarize, reframe it, accept what's happened, and, have some humor. And you go back next year and you go back stronger, fitter, faster. You're mentally even more resilient, emotionally even more resilient. You know what it's going to be like. Just go out there, have fun, enjoy it, and just get back to it. Next question, which is perfect for where we're going, because I've realized I've been talking about 52 minutes. What are your plans for 2025? Oh, let's talk about 2025. So, as I've already mentioned, I'm trying to really balance out like the financial side, earning money, as well as focusing on my health and fitness, building up my strength. Woman in my early 40s, perimenopause is coming for me at 46 or 47. 44 is the aging when it's going to be happening. I'm going to be ready for it. That is my plan. But so 2025, I'm going to be focused on Tough Girl podcast episodes, new episodes coming out every Tuesday. I've got some great episodes coming out in the new year. I've got an incredible list. I mean, my list just gets longer and longer. I still feel horrendous. I haven't spoken to half these women yet, but I will keep chipping away with those episodes. The New Zealand vlogs are going to be coming out every Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, 7 a.m. UK time. So please do go and subscribe to the Tough Girl YouTube channel. But in terms of my adventures, so plan is until April to be working at AIM, doing what I need to do, strength, fitness, all that jazz. Over the next 4 months, there are a couple of short hikes that I want to take on. So I'm looking at the Camino Anglais, which is the English Camino. It's 120 kilometers in Spain. Very pleasant, quite short. I hope to do that with a friend. There's the Fisherman's Trail in Portugal. That is 226 kilometers, 140 miles. That's along the Atlantic coast. Again, about sort of 2 weeks. My friend Adelaide Goody, she lives over in Norway. She's invited me to go spend some time with her. So I'd like to go spend some time with Adelaide, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. Do some hiking, do some exploring. That would be absolutely fantastic. But the big challenge, and I've been thinking about this a lot because that I've talked about Pacific Crest Trail. It's been on my bucket list for a while now. And to be honest, I feel as though I'm putting it back every year because I was meant to do it in 2024. The plan was to finish New Zealand, head home, do Seville, and then head out and do the PCT from Canada down to Mexico. But I was just mentally burnt out from doing a 4.5-month hike, and I'd also spent so much money. So I needed some more time to manage it. I can't get excited at this point in time about doing a hike of that length. To be honest, I'm just not excited. And so therefore, if I'm not excited, I'm not going to be doing it. One of the things I learned from New Zealand, especially in the South Island, is the enjoyment that I had from being high up in the mountains, going over these passes was absolutely phenomenal. The things that I didn't like so much was, to be honest, like the roads, the lack of signage, just not being super, super enjoyable. I mean, I do have this bucket list. So I do want to walk like the 7 main Caminos. I want to walk, the 16 UK national trails. I want to do the big 3 over in America. I've already done one of them. But I couldn't get excited about the Caminos again. I was a bit like, because I've done quite a few of them. I know what to expect. And to be honest, it's not really like a challenge for me. It's just, it's just a really, really nice, enjoyable time. It's something that I would really, really love to do. So I wanted something challenging and fun, but I didn't want to have to travel to America or super far away, basically. So I was looking sort of closer to home. And next year is the 10th year anniversary of the Tough Girl podcast. So I've been doing Tough Girl challenges, for 10 years now. And I think I was just Googling and I came across the GR10 and I was literally started reading about it and I was like, oh, hold on. This sounds amazing. A 955-kilometer trail traversing the Pyrenees from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. Stunning scenery from alpine peaks and wildflower meadows to valleys and villages. 53,000 feet of elevation gain loss over 55 stages. Well-marked path and the balance of wild camping and staying in villages and getting resupplies. Like, I heard about this and I went on the Cicerone website, and Cicerone very kindly actually sent me the book. So I've got the Cicerone guidebook here, Trekking the GR10. I just want to read you the back, what it says. The GR10 is a magnificent 955-kilometer traverse of the Pyrenees from Hédé-Plague. I'm sorry for my French and Spanish, I'll try my best. On the Atlantic coast to Bagnols-sur-Mer on the Mediterranean, described in 55 stages with rolling hills leading to dramatic alpine peaks and passes and a combination of pastoral landscapes, spectacular wildflower meadows, steep wooded valleys and exposed mountains. Although it's a serious challenge for experienced hikers, this well-waymarked route is slightly less demanding than the high-level HRP or the GR11 in Spain. So for me, I'm thinking mountains, love. Well-marked trail, love. Wildflower meadows, love. Incredible peaks, love. The fact that you can wild camp out there, but also there's lots of resupply points on the way, so it's not like total wilderness. You'll be going past. You don't need to be carrying like 9 days worth of food, etc. So there's facilities along the routes. There's wild camping. It sounds amazing, and I've got the guidebook and I was reading through and I was just like, this sounds awesome. And I like the synchronicities with the GR10, 10 years of the Tough Girl podcast. You know, it's about 50 odd days for the challenge, which is, I think for me, a particular sort of sweet spot. I mean, I can do the bigger distances, but I just need to mentally be in that space, and I'm not at the moment. And so for me, I think this is a great sort of adventure to be taking on. So that is going to be my plan for next year. I want to take that on in sort of August, GR10, hoping to get sponsored for it. Hopefully ZOLEO will come on board, Innovate will provide the trainers and the gear and all of that good stuff. That will then take me through. I like being home for my birthday, but basically be home before my birthday in September. And that way I can sort of get the balance right between adventuring, working part-time, focusing on my health and fitness, editing for Tough Girl Challenges, and continuing the work that I'm doing with the Tough Girl podcast. So that is where I'm at. I think I've answered all your questions. I'm just having a quick look through. Oh, right. Got another couple of questions from Faye Kennedy. 2 questions for the Reflections episode. Anything you've changed your mind on? Actually, this is perfect, Faye. Anything you've changed your mind on in the last year? I think a couple of things which I've already sort of mentioned is, one is just the amount of adventuring that I'm doing. I need to bring more balance to it, because I do need to have like more income coming in. And when I'm away traveling, it's the opportunity cost of being away. And then also not able to do like my strength training. I'm then spending money all the time. I'm not really making it. It can be hard to generate income, especially with, you know, my Patreon numbers being, you know, reduced down. I've got to figure out other ways to get income coming in. I'm still hoping that the YouTube channel is going to like really like, you know, take off. It hasn't as yet. I mean, I had a pretty big boost when the Camino vlogs went live and got over like 5,000, which is amazing. And we're up to 5,449 followers on YouTube, which is pretty great. Facebook is 5,300 followers. Twitter, I'm no longer interested in that platform. I think it's toxic, so I've come off it. I'm on Instagram, 13.1 followers, which is pretty cool. But anything you've changed your mind on last year is just trying to get more balance in my life. Like, I think the previous years I was just hitting it too hard, and I just need to rein that in, balance it out. Favorite books of the year? What a wonderful question. So I've been trying to read more. I don't know about you. How are we meant to balance everything when I'm trying to do all my health and fitness and eat well and drink my water and do my stretching and do my strength training, spend time with friends and family, you're trying to like fit life in, and there's just so many different things in. And I've been wanting to do more reading because I'm sent so many amazing books, and I normally I glance at them and I flick through them, but then I end up speaking to the Women on the Tough Girl podcast. So I have actually been on a bit of a mission, and I've read some cracking books this year. I was very inspired by Leah Wilcox when she did her Around the World Adventure Challenge. And obviously, we've spoken with Jenny Graham before, who's been on the Tough Girl podcast, and Jenny very kindly sent me her book, Coffee First, Then the World: One Woman's Record-Breaking Pedal Around the Planet. And I've had this book for a while actually, but I've just, I've been away for like 18 months. I literally haven't had a chance to, and it's a hardback book. And it was really wonderful to read it at the same time that Lael was doing like her around the world challenge. And Vedangi's also out there at the moment as well, like cycling around the world. It really just puts it into perspective, like what these women are going through. Just an amazing read about her experiences and just how brutal it is, but in such an inspiring way. And she's such a great storyteller. So that was an amazing book. I've also had another book by another previous guest we've had on the podcast called Pip Stewart, A Guide to Life from One Epic Jungle Adventure, Life Lessons from the Amazon. And this is where Pip shares more about her journey with her teammates of going from the Esquibu, I hope I've said that right. I haven't, have I? From the source to the sea as they kayak, down rapids and hack their way through mountainous jungle and before reaching the Atlantic Ocean. And I just really loved how Pip shared that she pulled together like lessons from the experience and that was out there. She also didn't shy away from, say, some of these the tougher conversations, which I think is really important, especially around like teamwork and teammates and how do you deal with like conflict resolutions? And so I really, really thoroughly enjoyed reading that book. I also read a wonderful book as well about running 100-miler. Obviously, just the name has just completely popped out of my head. But she came on the Tough Girl podcast earlier this year. It was Tough Girl podcast extra episode. I'm going to scroll down now to see if Jen Benson, running coach, author, PhD researcher, the stories behind the path we run and her ultra marathon adventures. Jen's book is fascinating because she pulls together this history of like ultra running and weaves it in with her own personal journey of going after 100-miler. There were bits when I was reading that book where I was in tears, but also like I've never wanted to go out for a run so much in my life, but I've also, you start thinking like 100-miler, like, can I? Is that possible? Like 100 miles non-stop. I mean, it's ridiculous and it's insane, but it's also just amazing and inspiring because I know there's so many women out there who have done challenges like that. And obviously, I've spoken to a lot of women who've done those challenges. So I'm very fortunate to be reading some great books at the moment. I've stopped now. I need to get back into good routines and back into good habits. But I think over the Christmas and New Year, it's sort of quite a not necessarily the best time to start doing something new. But come January, when I get myself all organized again, I'll get back to it. I think I've covered everything. But thank you so much for listening to the Tough Girl podcast. It's amazing to have you as listeners, and it's just amazing to share these incredible stories of women just doing these epic challenges. I had a scroll through on the website toughgirlchallenge.com. By the way, I'm very aware, I know the website needs to be updated and it's probably not the easiest to navigate, and I'm still working through the resources, and there's loads of things which haven't been added, and my personal page about me hasn't been updated for a couple of years. It's just on the to-do list. I just haven't managed to get round to doing it. But what I do is sometimes when I'm having like a low day, or I'm thinking, God, Sarah, what are you doing? What are you spending all your time on? And I just look through some of the women that have been on the Tough Girl podcast, and like Charlotte Bowens, from a health crisis to 50-mile ultramarathon finisher, getting to catch up with Jen Scotney, talking more about resilience and battling through her challenges, running through the dark, and Dina Lewis and Gina Atkinson and Jen Benson and Joe Mosley and Caroline Paul, like how outdoor adventures improve life as we age. Lessons from Tough Broad, also an amazing book. Teresa Frost, who 68-year-old Ironman European aquabike champion. I got to stay with her on the Southwest Coast Path. Absolutely amazing. Sophie Pierce, Healing Through Nature, a journey of grief, love and wild swimming. Sarah Perry, setting records. She ran the Southwest Coast Path. I think it's something like in 13 days, something absolutely ridiculous and amazing. And I scroll through all these women just sharing these stories, and I'm just in awe because honestly, it's just such a privilege to chat to these women and share their stories. And obviously, who would want more downloads and more women being inspired? But also, I'm in it for the long game. Like I'm in it for the long run. Like the 10-year anniversary coming up. Like, if you ask me how I feel, I'm excited and I'm pleased, but it's a milestone, but it's not the end of anything. It's almost like a reset. And I still, to be honest, actually, I'm still thinking about rebranding. When I say rebranding, basically just changing it from pink to purple. So I've got like the pink decade and the purple decade. It's just whether or not I can get that done in the next 6 months. So basically, I leave everything up until the point of 2025, August 2025, as pink branding, and then everything going forward beyond that would be purple. And I think the only reason I really want to do that is more just as like a segue. So maybe it's like the first 10 years and the second 10 years. Maybe it makes it easier to locate episodes in my head of like when they were. So because obviously, I have it by years now, but I also have them in the resources section. But hopefully I can get around to doing that. But just with the editing, especially with the Southwest Coast Path editing and doing the podcasts over the coming months and getting them all done before I start adventuring, and if I can go adventuring in May, June, July, August and take on the GR10, it's just, and with working sort of part-time, I don't have the hours available now to do as much as I want to do with Tough Girl Challenges. So it's just that balancing act. My word of the year for 2025 is going to be longevity in health, longevity for the podcast, longevity for the vlogs, for the videos, longevity for my health and wellness, longevity for Tough Girl Challenges, to keep on growing it. I do need to put some legacy plans in place. What happens in the future with Tough Girl Challenges? How do I keep it running when I'm not here anymore, which will hopefully be, a long time in the future, but it's still very important to get those things sort of in place. My little niece said to me, children have a way of bringing things to the forefront. They said, what's going to happen when you die, Auntie Sarah? Shall I become the CEO of Tough Girl Challenges? So I was like, well, hopefully that's not going to happen too soon. But in all seriousness, it's something I need to think about, because I don't want all of the episodes to be lost. Like, I want them to be here for future generations of adventurers and girls growing up, so that they can listen to these adventures and be inspired. Apologies, I'm going off on a tangent. Thank you so much for listening. Everything we've talked about today will be available in the show notes at toughgirlchallenges.com. Please do go check it out. If you've got any questions, or if I can help in any way, please do reach out. More than happy. Send me a DM. I'm probably most active on Instagram at Tough Girl Challenges. I would love for you to watch the vlogs on YouTube. Like, tell your friends about them. Tell your friends about the Tough Girl podcast. If you are in a financially strong situation at the moment, I would love for you to become a patron. You can visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast, and sign up as an annual member, or do sort of a monthly donation. It really does make a massive difference having a regular source of income coming in. It does allow me to fund the running costs, and for me to have an income, and pay my dentist bills, which are coming up. I've got more dentist treatments coming up. What else? That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing on social media. All that's left for me to say is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, give it your all, give it 110%, get after it, go for it, believe in yourself, because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.